This summer we planted loofah vines, and they were quite productive. We got quite a few of them. Uh, Not all usable ones, but what we did is, as the fall came on, we pulled our loofahs in and we hung them on a string and hung them where they could dry, uh, actually in our utility room. Anyway, this is what they look like. Okay, now my son takes these and he soaks them in water, and when he soaks them, the outer layer comes off very easily. And once dried, they look like this. Okay? Now, they still have the seeds in them, as you can hear. And what we need to do next is we need to dump and get as many seeds out as we can. They're still pretty rough. They're kind of dirty. They still have a little bit of this hanging here and there. Anyway, this is the way we begin. The next process is we want to turn them into a very pliable material that we can work with. And to do that, we soak them in water. Here's another one. More seeds in it. So we're going to take this to the sink and we're going to soak it in water. And I'll be back. I'm back. I have a nice pliable loofah. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to check my loofah over. This one's fairly straight. If it has a crook in it, I need to cut it carefully so that when it's opened up, it's not going real funny. So I just take a nice pair of shears, look at it, and I want to cut the spine out. There's a spine in here. And so I'm going to give it a clip there, and I'm just going to run it up along the side, and cut it. Open it up. I'm going to run my scissors along that spine and clip it. And I will continue to do this all the way around until I have released the loofah from the spine. And I'll be back. As you can see, I have my spine all out. And if you look on the inside here, you can see that it's quite dirty. It's got leftover seeds. It's got the hulls from the leftover seeds. And what I will do next is I'll take it to my sink and I will wash it with soap and water. You can also let them soak in bleach for a while to take out all of the discolorations that they might have. And when you're finished, you will have a nice clean looking one. Now this one has not been bleached. It's nice and clean. All of the debris from the inside is all gone, and you can see it's nice and pretty. Now we're going to take this and we're going to go turn it into a bath sponge after I clean all this mess up from making the video, and I'll show you how to do that. Now, I'm back in my cozy little sewing room. I have my damp. I shook most of the excess water off. It is still quite damp, and I want it damp because once it dries, it will be quite difficult to work with. This is one I've already made, and this is what I'm aiming for. We're going to turn this into this. Let me show you how. First of all, we want to fold it carefully. We want our spines on the inside. I don't think I want that to be next to my skin, even if I'm trying to rub the dry skin off, and I'm going to fold it like this. It's about where I want it. I'm going to put the short end on the inside. I'm going to pull it up like this so that that overlaps just a little bit, and then I'm going to fold any excess in. I could cut it off, but I have found that leaving it there makes a nice fluffy bath mat. By the way, these are really good for cleaning your heels up. You can buy something for this, but these are really nice. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is in one of the corners, I'm going to start with a ball of yarn. Now, this is not a 4-ply. This is probably a DK weight, I think. A little bit smaller than a 4-ply. You could use like a sport weight yarn. You don't want a real thick yarn because you're going to have to use a crochet hook that can actually pierce this fabric like that. So at one of the corners, I'm just going to start knitting. I'm going to do a simple crochet, single crochet border around this. What I'm doing is I'm just holding the whole thing together. Nothing more, nothing less. So we're going to do one there. Now this is the corner, and so I want an extra stitch or two there. So I'm going to go back through that hole, and I'm going to pull up another loop and make a stitch. Now, how far apart you put these is up to you. I think I like about 1/4 of an inch, and so I will push my hook through and just be patient. And the hook I'm using is a C, and it is a Bates hook. Bates hooks are a little pointy. Your other ones, I think the Boy and some of the other brands are kind of rounded. You want something with a little bit of a point, and you just push it through and carefully pull a loop up. You may catch a fiber, and you go around. Now, as I go around on this side, I'm going to have to make sure that my little part that I pushed in stays down. And it takes a little bit of strength to do this, but it goes very quickly. Anyway, I will work a little bit more and be right back. Now, at the corners, like I said, at the corners, like with most crochet, if you're making a corner, you want it extra stitches. So at the corner, we're going to put 3 single crochets all into the same hole so that we turn it nicely and don't pull it. And here we go. 2, 3. I got my yarn a little bit split there. One more. If you have trouble getting your crochet hook through, you can grab an awl. But so far, this one is not giving me too much difficulty. Except this last stitch, of course. There we go. Now I'm just going to crochet across the bottom, making sure it stays straight. And I'm just going in about 1/4, maybe 3/8 of an inch, and spacing these about 1/4 of an inch apart. And the bottom goes really fast because it's not got as many layers in it. Our garden is a good-sized garden, But our growing season is not as long as the loofahs really need. So our loofahs are not as big. And by the end of the growing season, a lot of them have not matured yet. And so I think Joe told me that we had about 100 of them, but they were not all suitable for drying and turning into these mats because they were still too green. And of course the chickens get those. But we got enough of them that I have made several of these little mats. If I lived a little farther south, my loofahs would be enormous. And if you would like to see our garden, I have a video, and I'll put the link down below, of the garden where these grew. I don't think the garden shows you the loofahs, but it shows a lot of our other things that we grow on our place. And now I've come back to the side here, and I'm going to have to make sure I get my edges down so that we pretty much get it to be square. And right now I think I'm going to reach over and grab a pin, and I'm going to pin this because it keeps shifting on me and I don't want it to be too crooked. Now these may turn out square, they may turn out slightly rectangular, and if you wanted to, you could actually make them round, putting a lot of this material to the inside. I could cut the excess off, but it leaves a rough feel along the edges if you do that. It's just better to turn it under. Now there's my second corner, and we're about halfway done. These only take a few minutes apiece. Might have to pull out the awl. Ah. We're back around to where we started, and we've got a nice little poofy one, a little bit different shape than this one. This one's a little more square. We want to make sure we have 3 stitches here at the corner, and I need to add one more. Okay, and we never did do anything with our yarn here. We'll dispose of that when we get finished. Anyway, I want to slip stitch into that first stitch there, like that. And I like a little hanger. This is optional. If you have a little shower tote or something, they usually have little pegs for you to hang whatever on. And it's kind of nice. You don't want to let these sit and soak in and be wet, or they will rot. They will literally rot. You want to let them dry out after each use. Anyway, so I just crochet a few stitches, a few chains. My yarn's splitting on me. You'll have to, because this is a very small crochet hook to be using with this yarn. Decide how long you want your chain to be. Oops, we split that, didn't we? Pull that back a little bit. We'll give them a nice long hook loop. Okay, and when you've got it to the size you want, I just come back, slip stitch, and to finish it off, I will slip stitch into the next couple of stitches here, and trim it. Now, all I have left to do is to grab these tails and work them in. And usually I just do that with my crochet hook. It's just easier that way. And cut the excess off. Do the same over here, but I'm going to pull this to the back side and work it into. Just go underneath there. Now, these sponges will last for a while. I think I've got one in my bathroom that's several years old, but that's not necessarily how long they will last. It depends on how much they're being used. Now, you can also take these to the kitchen and scrub pots and pans with them. But in any case, I usually give these as a gift with a bar of homemade soap. And I think the recipients like them. Anyway, if you like this video and have any questions, if you have questions, leave comments. And if you like the video, like and subscribe. And as I mentioned earlier, in the description below, I will have a link to a video that shows our garden. My son Joe is showing it off to some friends and relatives. Thank you very much.